the Adventures in Adversity podcast. I am with a very, very lovely person who I'm so glad I met, Meral. Meral, thank you so much for joining us today. I know we were just talking and we're like so excited to be connecting right now.
It is an utter pleasure, Brie. It's incredible how this is the second time that we've met, but the energy that you've created, the energy that you are, and how this podcast feels is genuinely an honor. And I'm so glad to be a part of it.
Ugh. Well, thank you. And you, oh my gosh, your voice, you're just so like, you're just an angel. I don't, we came together on Instagram and I'm going to do what everyone loves. I'm going to read about you to you in front of you. And then you can blush and just be amazed by your amazingness. But no, we met on Instagram through our pages, which I'm going to get to. And I'm so glad. So Meral, you are, for my listeners out there, Meral is a kindness advocate. Yep, you heard me right. Kindness, which we're going to get into. Keynote speaker, trainer, and founder of Results of Kindness, ROK. Now, do you call it ROK or ROK?
ROK sounds really cool, but I just say ROK.
ROK. All
Yeah.
right. Results of Kindness. I love that. A consultancy, education, and training firm that enhances organizational profitability, productivity, and competitiveness through kindness. Love this. Now, Meral, if you're not blushing yet, I'm going to talk about how cool you are. Meral has a background in psychology, education, and law, and has firsthand experience with the negative impact of outdated and ineffective workplace practices. Through ROK, Meral aims to change the way the business world approaches productivity, competitiveness, and profitability by emphasizing emotional intelligence, the systemization of kindness, and communication and effectiveness over appearances. Oh my God, I love that. She aspires to make the world more livable through kindness, starting with transforming workplaces. Okay, that's it. That's enough. I can't. I'm done. I can't. That is the coolest thing ever.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Brie.
So, Meral, tell me, you live in the UK,
I do,
right?
from the accent, yes.
The beautiful, loving accent.
I love yours.
Now, take me through your journey. You started ROK, Results of Kindness. How long ago? And tell me about, did you wake up one day and decide, was this like divine inspiration? Was it through experiences? How did this come about? And we're probably just going to go all over the place, kind of like me, my personality, all over the place.
Well, you know what? Fluidity is the key to creativity. And sometimes when you're so rigid,
Yeah.
inspiration and true connection doesn't happen. But
Yes.
thank you for that question. Results of kindness actually was not so much gifted to me, but it was a business mentor who met me. And at the time, I was an academic. I was a tutor at a university, and he went through some of my messages from my work, from my dissertation, from my poetry, because I came on the scene or the public scene as a poet. And he said, Meral, you do know that you've been talking about kindness your entire life. You've been campaigning about kindness. You get very upset when there is a lack of kindness. You're very sensitive to it. Have you considered entrepreneurship? And I think, Brie, with anyone who started, any venture, I'm so I admire them so much for doing it early enough, because I had essentially been avoiding or denying that kindness was my sole mission, because it was so embedded into every part of my life. It was so assumed that it wasn't outward, it wasn't apparent. And entrepreneurship, well, I thought that, you know, I'm process things slower. I prioritize quality over quantity. I don't have the most stereotypical look or feel or sense of an entrepreneurial leader. And I thought this is something I always aspired towards entrepreneurship. I always was fascinated by it, but never thought to
But that's
ever.
not for me. But that's cool over there, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like,
I can't
oh,
do that,
this
but
is
I'd
for
love to.
people who can sort of sleep for 3 or 4 hours.
Move fast.
Um,
Boom, boom. Mm-hmm.
and for me, there was someone that said it was a psychiatrist who was doing a panel discussion with me many years ago, and he said, some people are dandelions and some people are orchids. And some people process things and live slower. They need more investment, but they become orchids. Whereas some people are daffodils, and you can sort of break that seed into concrete and it'll grow. And there's less investment, there's less need for investment, but they become sort of ripe and out in the world quite quickly. And so this is something that was planted into my heart for since I knew myself. I've always been empathic. I've always been kind. I've always lived through and from and towards the heart. And I found it very difficult to be judgmental or to be stubborn or set in my ways or set in my own interests. And I've always been campaigning towards that mission of kindness, but not in an active, obvious way. It was always there in the background. And seeing that the world is hurtling towards this truly unsustainable model, whether it's the way that we deal with relationships, whether
Yeah.
it's the way that we do business, whether it's the way that we present ourselves on social media and to each other. I truly believe that ROK has come at the time where darkness is really challenging the volume of light that we have. And if we begin with businesses, which is a place
Mhm.
where people spend a third of their lives, I think that we can enact true, sustainable, effective change. And the numbers show. This
Mhm.
is something that is a truly profitable strategy, a truly enriching strategy, at the level of business, society, and at the individual stage as well.
Well, for all the people like, and I'm looking at what you sent me on like the costs of kindness and the
Mm.
profitability of kindness, not to just to kind of be your little assistant here and showing you. And seriously, like this is for if you love numbers and value, the cost of kindness. So annual 64.2 million, like related to miscommunication problems,
Yeah.
1.8 trillion a year loss of productivity cost,
Mhm.
1.3 million average yearly cost of employee turnover. Oh, for sure. Attrition because people are mean
Mm.
or the culture's toxic, right?
Yeah.
Global 8.8 trillion cost of employee disengagement. Yeah, you disengage when you're not treated well, right? You're like, fine, whatever. I'll or you try to not interact with that person as much as possible, which hurts productivity, right? So now profitability of kindness, 21% more profitable for companies with highly engaged employees,
Mm.
4 to 6 more times more likely customers will repurchase from a company they feel valued by, which is driven by
Yes.
kindness, right?
Yes. Yes. People want to buy from kind vendors. They don't want
Yes.
pushy salespeople. It just doesn't meet their sense of safety because customers put their money in your hands. They need a sense of safety and trust
Yes.
to be able to continue.
And it's like what results of kindness would offer. How do you embed kindness in like your operations and how you in your culture and everything, right? And
Yeah.
actually not just enjoy life more, but like see results quarter to quarter as a result of that kindness.
Exactly.
It's just good business.
It
Not
is good business.
if you're not empaths like us and enjoy the kindness for the kindness, at
Mhm.
least enjoy the numbers, right? It works.
Yes.
Kindness works. I'm just actually astounded by all that.
I think you put it so well, and it's the empaths, highly sensitive individuals, which we both have identified that we are. We love kindness for the sake of kindness, but when we approach something, or when we operate in a way where we appreciate something for its innate value, there's a reason that it has innate value, because
Mm.
it's a source of abundance. So when people say stick to the ethics, stick to morals, because maybe in the short term it might lag things, it might make things, you might get there a little bit later,
Adds a
but when
couple
you get
days
there,
or yeah,
yeah, when you get there, it's true success. And that's what kindness is.
the feeling's better when you get there if you didn't stomp on somebody to get there. Which, to
Absolutely.
be honest, I will honestly say, and I mean, anyone who's worked with me can come out and tell me wrong, but I the reason why I love what you're doing is because not only because this podcast, but like I work in the corporate world and I've worked in it for 20, oh my gosh, is it 20, 21, 20? I don't know, 20 plus years.
Wow.
I can't do math because I'm old now. No. Uh, the times when the cultures did not have kindness, I suffered personally.
Yeah.
Not just like my career was stagnant.
Yeah.
I took it home with me and I remember I'm not going to name who, but a very high powered executive in Silicon Valley who is Googleable, just obliterating me, obliterating me.
Yeah.
I ended up quitting. Like I remember calling my parents in the bathroom, like shaking because like was thrown off the stage during a rehearsal. I'm like 25 years old. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is A, not nice, and B,
Mhm.
this is not good for business, is it? Now you're like, so
No.
kindness has effects on business. I mean, I have core memories of like traumatic experiences in the corporate world where someone was awful,
Yeah.
right?
And they can get away with it.
Oh, and then they rise to the top in some
Yeah.
cases. But it's not sustainable.
See, that's the thing. And if we apply it, and firstly, I'm so sorry that you had experiences like that.
Thank
And
you.
it's terrible because we assume that we can separate ourselves from our work.
Oh
It,
yeah.
we assume that there's a mask that we can put on, and then the moment that the working day is finished, we can take that mask off, and nothing of those experiences will take home. But if school can impact us so greatly and can almost change our psychological makeup that we spend the bulk of our lives in,
Mm.
we spend a third of our lives at work. And if that workplace is operating on unsustainable practices, brutality, short term thinking and strategies, and from what I can sense, narcissistic, ego
Oh,
driven bosses,
oh.
how on earth are we going to be able to call those spaces or expect those places to be productive, profitable, or workable? So when I say making the world more livable through kindness, we need to make work more workable. It's and and obviously we'll get into this, Brie, but growing up as a child, because my inner world was so enriched by being an empath, and
Mm.
because even when I was surrounded by darkness and adversity, by other people's lack of kindness, it created miracles for me. And those miracles, and it opened up pathways, and it opened up doors, and vision and mission and spiritual protection, which is true and real. In the same way, companies open up these doors of abundance and innovation and competitiveness and dynamicism when they are human centered. And
Mm.
for me, it's almost, why is this not a norm? Why is this so rare? And why are we searching so hard and fast for it? Because that leader, with everything that you can offer, stripped himself and the company of that opportunity, stripped himself of his dignity, and also
Mm.
caused you, and of course, you knew that that wasn't the right company for you,
Oh
but
yeah.
that company had a really great vision.
Oh, it's
They
so
also lost out. So
yeah. Well,
we
and
think,
it's almost like what you were saying. It's scale. It's almost like embedding kindness within these companies, which are so globally visible and have so much money. Um, it's like scaling kindness. It's a vehicle,
yes,
right?
yes,
Like
yes.
if the World Cup, one of the most watched, maybe it's the most watched. I don't know, because football, not soccer. I almost said soccer. You're probably like football. Um, uh, uh, if like kindness was embedded in that, imagine like the halftime show, it's
Mm,
scaling it, but like money has to be spent on that, right? Like
yeah,
it's like scaling this message of kindness because corporations are so powerful,
mm,
and people people like working for corporations, right? Like I love working for ServiceNow. It has the right culture. That's the
yes.
difference.
You
They
see,
spend money on developing the culture,
you
investing.
see, that's the thing, Brie, is that I always say that employees and leaders or anyone of contribution in the workplace, they want to contribute. They are
Yeah,
worthy.
yeah.
They commit. When when I got my first job when I was 16, before that, I was oblivious to just how much of life is about work, and not just work in terms of sort of structured or official work, but even if it's cooking, preparation, apprehension, defense, organization, all of this is human effort. And
Effort,
so
yes.
people are, and you can see just how much they commit and just how much they sacrifice. And so the intention is there. It's not about employees, it's about the systems and the processes and the leadership that surrounds that. Because I've seen so many employees, just like yourself, who have been committed, who have been driven, who have had so much to offer. But when they go into the workplace, it's almost like the law of the jungle begins to apply. All of these unknown rules start to fall in. And where these could be sacred spaces for productivity, let's say, for example, with football. Now, the football industry, for how much loyalty it receives from its fans,
Oh,
it can do quite a bit more in investing in their personal growth,
oh,
well being, development. They can. And it's
yes.
for them too. So it aligns with the fact that the human being innately is good, and the human being searches for reason and meaning, and the least that we could do is create or do help them do the commitment, give the sacrifice of time, of life and effort to reap those rewards. So when people ask me, well, kindness seems like quite a far-fetched mission, I say, no, it's the basic necessity, because the rest of it falls into place quite well, but we just need to have the right foundations in place, and we don't have those at the
It's
moment.
a pillar of your business, kindness.
Yes, it's the
Just like
center.
because trust. So our CEO of ServiceNow, and I'm definitely I'm connecting Meryl with ServiceNow. I always talk about like ServiceNow is so cool. They know I do this podcast. I've tagged them. They've reshared my story. It's just cool. Like they want you to live your best life, do your best work, stay hungry and humble. They're like, hey, don't let it get to your head, by the way, if we're doing well, but also go pick up your kids at school, but also like remember to get your stuff done. Like
Yeah,
it's they empower you and trust you. And
yeah,
Bill, our CEO, talks about always um, trust is earned in drops and lost in buckets.
yeah.
And he says trust. That's why we have such a 99% renewal rate because we have a good product, but also like the relationships that are built and he has integrity. He's known for being a man that has integrity. He went through an accident where he lost one eye and wrote and talks about
Mm,
how he lost his vision or he lost his sight but not his vision. Like he's a great guy and whenever he's in our meetings he's like, I love you guys, love you, and we all make fun, like everyone makes like I love you, I love you, he's just a like bleeding heart, you know, a businessman. And when you say results of kindness, I think about now, if someone's like, so you can be kind, it doesn't mean you're not a strong leader. Why can't kindness be on the same as strength? You know what I mean? Like kindness is not weakness. How do you
Mm.
kind of look at that?
In terms of your question about kindness is weakness, I think that I always say that kindness has an image problem, and
Oh,
kindness is bound by a very, it's bound by a sort of, how would I say this? I think it's not very profitable for everyone to be kind. And I know that I talk about the return on kindness, but I think it's almost the same as saying it wouldn't be very profitable for the therapy industry or for the well-being industry if everyone was emotionally whole.
right.
And it's the
Right.
same thing with kindness. And I
Good.
think when we talk about, for example, healing, the reason people fear healing as a very interesting analogy is because they fear that it's difficult. They fear that they're going to lose too much from it. And the same thing is kindness. Kindness is elusive. Kindness is misunderstood for two reasons. Number one, because there is such an abundance of unkindness or a lack of kindness that people who are kind, people who are empaths, people who are giving, they are lonely and they are limited in their reach because kindness requires a community. Kindness requires reciprocity for it to work.
Mm-hmm.
I know many, many managers who are kind. Well, not many, many, but I know I know
Hey,
managers
there's
who are
some good ones in there.
kind.
You gotta think. No, I'm kidding. So
Oh, I know lots. No, I don't. No, there are a substantial body of kind leaders, but perhaps, for example, they don't have the kindest of managers, or there might be team dynamics that don't work, or the environment might not be great, or sort of different things. And then number two, the second reason. So number one is that there is an abundance of a lack of kindness. And that's why people feel that it's a weakness because those who do express kindness are stomped at or
oh.
attacked or undermined. That anything that we think of that's rare, we consider it to be a luxury, not a necessity.
Mm.
So it creates an
Mm.
illusion rather than actually pointing to the truth of kindness, which is an inherently profitable, effective, wholesome strategy.
It
And
does
then
have an image problem.
it does have,
It
it
just
has,
needs a
yeah,
publicist, and
it's,
it's you. You are
it's
taking it.
us. It's us.
But and also I feel like kindness now, kindness and calmness, I feel like are superpowers, but sometimes that unkindness might be loud or so like piercing that it's
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like the gentle compliment from a very high up leader in front of everyone that's like soft is sort of gentle, right? Or just like, and I'll give you an example.
It's subtle. Yeah.
Just the things that you don't expect, like the softness from people in positions of authority where you're like, yeah, we're all human. Duh. Like, I just, anyway, I totally interrupted you, but continue. Continue. I don't know why I was even talking about that.
No, no, no. Well, you know what? I think, Bree, that it's very clear that we have a shared mission. And again, kindness is not my sort of gate-kept IP.
Sure.
It's the innate language of the human being. And I always say when I have these meetings, and I'll finish my point. Um,
Yeah.
when I have meetings, when I network with people, Brie, I speak for 10 minutes. They
Uh-huh.
speak for 40. Why? Um, because the moment you introduce ROK, people are not introduced to kindness, they're reminded of it. So it's almost as if I'm bringing out, and I'm one very humble, newly established mouthpiece in a sea of mouthpieces for kindness. But I always say people don't need to be introduced to kindness. They just need to remember, because it's within. It is the first language of human survival. It has kept us alive and in cohesion and in community and in a state of existence since the beginning of the human race. So I remember the first time that we spoke, I said that you and I, regardless of, I mean, I know that people have, that people have experienced different levels of parental warmth and caretaking, but every child, and I worked before I came into my training program as a psychologist. I worked in a nursery for a year, and I remember seeing the investment that is required to sustain a child, just to keep them from not
Yeah.
hurting themselves.
Oh.
Look at the generosity and the kindness that is put into every moment by moment just to keep a child alive. So if you
Mm.
and I and the rest of 8 billion people are sustained by kindness, why do we see it as a luxury when it's always been within the DNA, the requirement of human survival, protection, and preservation? And in terms of the second point, which is number one, it was about kindness being, essential because it's of because it's a part of. Oh, I completely forgot. But maybe anyway.
Evolution. It's like evolutionarily,
Yeah.
biologically, it is a necessity. We are like pack animals, right?
Yeah.
Packs, right? But
Mm.
what brought up what made me think is like kindness, an infant, right? There's someone or a group of people dedicated to raising this infant, with certain handoff points. Okay, you take, all right, you got to, it takes a village, right? You're all being kind to that infant, water, food, warmth. Also, the brain development, if you were to just give the child food, water, and warmth and never look at it, never look in its eyes, never no kindness, no connection, that
Mm.
is very detrimental to its development as a human, as a species. It will also be very unhappy, but also I think the brain, it affects the physical development of the brain.
It's amazing that you say that, because it reminds me of some of my own research
Yeah.
on narcissism,
Ugh,
which is
I always
that.
gasp. Oh, narcissism.
And I
Sorry.
know, and
I laugh at my drama. No, I'm kidding. Sorry.
but do you know what? Adventures in adversity. I think that laughing at trauma is
You
probably,
have to.
you have to. It's the
It's
greatest power move.
it really is. It's called dark humor. I'm like, oh, too
Yeah.
far. Okay, no, too soon.
But what you were saying was that, and again, it's incredible how quickly and how frequently you forget this, because again, the moment you come into adulthood, everything becomes about achievement and accomplishment, and we forget the absolute basics.
Mm.
But absolutely, the role of nurturing, the role of nurture, the role of emotional connection is so important. And if people have forgotten this, then let's just point
I
to
have.
the relationship crisis today.
Ah,
Now, one of the greatest lines in a TV series that I've ever come across was that relationships are essentially a reenactment of parental dynamics. So all of these people who are suffering with attachment difficulties, who cannot form close bonds with people, those who come into narcissism or present psychopathic traits, at some point in their development, the soul split in two because it could not receive the basics, the essentials of survival. And when we talk about, for example, I mean, many people are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Food, water, shelter, absolutely. But I would say that nurture is exactly on the same level in terms of its necessity and how crucial it is
yeah.
for just normal development. I'm not talking about increased or effective or high levels of functioning, but at the most basic level. And it's strange that in the last 100 years or so, with rugged individualism that we have forgotten, or we're pretending that somehow we went through an evolutionary shift and we no longer need those, I think you mentioned about those soft
Yeah.
dimensions of behavior.
Yeah.
And oh yes, I did remember my point. My
Yeah.
second point, my kindness is
I go all over the place.
it's okay. I think we all are, and if we're not, then that's not very good for our
Hey,
creativity.
we're gonna be kind to ourselves because we are gonna do what we
Kind to
want to do.
yourself.
And
I
I
wonder if
always go, because it's my podcast and I can do whatever I want.
I love it. I love it. But you're absolutely right. And the second thing as to why people consider kindness as a weakness, it's because we are so tuned to what's loud and obvious and what's slightly unavailable and what's slightly exciting that the subtle is boring. And that's why
Mm.
Dumbledore says that kindness is, people never fail to underestimate it, because it's the difference between what catches your attention. A ray of light at sundown, perhaps for you and I it probably is, but I think we're a little bit
Yeah.
different. Or a neon sign, like a Las Vegas sign,
Oh, right.
captures the attention of the average person.
It's more intriguing, right? Like, ooh, what's that about? Ooh, that's different,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And so when someone gives from a place of generosity, and much of my life, and I think we'll probably get into
Oh
this,
yeah. Oh yeah.
but most kind people are, um, and it's sad, but they are invisible, because the extent or the depth of their giving requires very sensitive ears and very keen eyes.
Yeah.
Most people don't have that, or are unwilling to see.
Mm. I think you and I are tuned in naturally, like a default setting. And correct me if I'm wrong. For me, when I walk into a room, like if I feel that's like if I were to walk into a room, like for example, I have an event tomorrow night where I'm speaking, my first one, about like my
Amazing.
mental health journey. And if I walk in the room and there's like 30 women there or whatever, um, if I see one woman in the corner who
Mm,
looks like uncomfortable, like I'm gonna get uncomfortable because I'm
mm,
like, she's uncomfortable. Like I don't like it's not my responsibility, but like I feel like it's not kind if I see that and feel something and don't like offer to be like, hey, did you want to meet everybody, or like, because I go, oh, when I see that I go, oh, I hate when I feel like that when I'm in the corner and I don't have anyone to talk to, but I don't want to let you know what I mean, like you
mm.
empathize. I
Yeah.
don't have to try. I don't have to go, okay, Bree, look around and remember, try to be nice. Sometimes I gotta like just worry about myself.
Balance,
Like
balance
it's a
yourself.
default setting for
Balance,
you,
yeah.
right? Kindness.
Absolutely. And again, I think that I remember when we were thinking about, well, what title should we give this podcast? Because when we met, there was so much synergy. But I think
Yeah.
that the making of the unkind person and the making of the kind person, they
Oh,
are very similar. I think at some point you and I went that way, other people went this way, and then the narcissists went another way.
that's what we.
At some point, whether it's, and I think the science of kindness, the neuroscience, the neurobiology of kindness is that empaths are predisposed to empathy. The regions of
Mhm.
the brain associated with empathy are already larger and more receptive.
Got
And
it.
then the development stages from about 0 up until 5 years old, you, if you have experiences that require you to consider others or to be more attuned to others, or if you naturally sort of bring in the genetics and the experiences together,
Mhm.
depends on how you take those. So I think there are a lot of people who will see adversity, will
Mhm.
see difficulty, will see, other things in their childhood, but they'll
Sure.
take a very different route. And I think it's a wonderful thing that there are such a thing as empaths for whom it is second nature to, for example, when you walk into a room, it's almost as if your humanity will not allow you to sit freely and comfortably
Oh
if
no,
you have
that's
anything.
exactly. Oh my gosh, that's exactly how it feels. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that to be like, "Oh, I'm so kind. I'm such an empath." I'm telling you, like,
Being
I'm
honest.
telling you, I feel uncomfortable, almost like I'm like, I would feel okay, even if I'm just standing there and I don't do anything, I'm like, "You're a mean girl." I'm like, "But I didn't even do anything." I'm like, but then I've always been, "Well, if you don't go over there, then you're just," and then I'm having this dialogue being like, "Fine, just go over there," like, because I know but now that I've gotten older, I don't hesitate. I just go. Like, as I know myself now, I know, whereas before I'd be like, "Oh, should I? Oh, eh," you don't know, like, now I go because I follow my intuition now. I don't second guess that.
I think it's so fascinating because this brings up so many
Yeah.
it brings up so many things to discuss. And I think number one, I want to give you your flowers, Brie, because
Mm.
a lot of people run away. A lot of empaths, or just generally kind people, they they have a choice. They can either stuff it out,
Yeah.
which you haven't done, or you can embrace that. And I think that two great missions that I have, and ones that I'm sure that you share as well, is number one, to empower kind people to use it as a superpower. So
Oh,
those like us who are perhaps over, over empathic or overly sensitive, if there is even a thing, I don't believe that
sure,
there is.
sure.
But then number two, to bring people towards the scale of being, so let's say if there's a scale of kindness,
Mhm.
the empaths are on the right end, so they
Off
have
the charts.
and then other people are perhaps indifferent or looking for a balance.
Yeah.
Sometimes it appears, sometimes maybe it's an inconsistent relationship. And then obviously you know where this side is, which is people who are devoid of empathy. And then what I'm trying to do with ROK is
Mm.
bring individuals who are kind into the realization that it's a superpower, that you, of all people, of all archetypes, human archetypes, are best suited for leadership.
Mm.
You just need to be able to channel it through an emotionally intelligent lens, armed with boundaries, armed with mindfulness, armed with self knowledge and self love. And then those who are in the middle, who are indifferent, they need to be brought towards the right hand side by seeing, by firstly awakening them of what kindness is, helping them let go of some of those preconceived notions, and seeing that it is the really the formula for organizational success, social health, and individual transformation.
Whoa.
So for me, I think when people say, well, why workplaces? Why do you focus there? Because it's a place where we can truly reach people, and we can help them learn in ways that, for example, most adults would struggle to
Yeah.
do workshops, or go out of their way to do workshops or online courses,
Yeah.
unless they have the time and they have a lot of initiative. But most people don't.
Mhm.
So when you bring it in to the
To work.
workplace, you can see that these highly intelligent, highly empathic individuals can use their professional acumen to turn it into a superpower. And the people who are not convinced
Yeah.
can see the results, and they will be on board as well.
You know what it is? It's like I write about in AI and how we're like infusing AI into everything, right?
Yeah,
At service now.
yeah.
It's infusing kindness into everything. It's just an infusion of, like you say, a reminder, but then ROK, you're giving practical education, workshops, tools, training to organizations, right?
Yes. And because I,
So
I
cool.
believe that,
Love it.
I believe, and it doesn't make me emotional, but it makes me genuinely proud, because I remember, Brie, I can sense myself getting emotional, but I think I was around
Yeah.
4 or 5 years old. And I remember being in the boundaries between an English culture and a Central Asian culture, and never feeling quite at home or quite appreciated by either. And I remember making this promise that no one in my presence would ever feel unimportant. And I believe and I hope that I've been able to, um, you know, m- enable that promise to live and for it not to be discarded. And I also say as well is that we by introducing the results and the benefits and the importance of kindness, people will be nurtured, people will be saved, people will have fulfilling lives, so that young children, perhaps like myself, do not feel alone in the gifts and the beauty that kindness can give. Because when it is experienced alone, when it is seen as just a luxury, when it's not given the right platform. So when we talk about tools and workshops, it's not about making a buck, a big buck from kindness, not at
Sure.
all. But it's about giving kindness its true spotlight and returning it to its true definition and form. And people deserve that.
Mhm.
Children deserve that.
Yeah.
Adults deserve that. It's something that will transform people's lives. And
Oh,
I don't want anyone to feel that they have, because there are kind people trawling the world with mission, but they suffer. And Brie, you've also talked about your journey. Why deny people who have mission
yeah,
that support and that knowledge? And
sure.
also, why deny the world of its rightful um, of its right to be a sustainable ecosystem,
Yes.
because
It's
that's
a
how the world began.
it's up there. It's sunlight, water, kindness. It's if you don't have it, you self-destruct, you destroy
Mm.
other people, and
Yeah.
we've talked about, you mentioned, and before when we talked, we
Mm.
connected before this, like last week, and we happen to both have, we both are very into kindness and into inspiration and like turning adversity into something positive.
Mm.
And we both have experiences with, like you were saying, people on the other spectrum, right? We've
Yeah.
got kind people in the middle that are kind of like, yeah, I'm a good person, but I don't really think about it, whatever. Like I just try to like mind my own business. And then you
Yes.
got people who kind of actively go and um,
Destroy.
manipulate like kindness, right, to their
Mm.
benefit, which is known as a narcissist.
Yeah.
And it comes up in life over and over because I think they are just more common than people, as people educate themselves about some of the signs and some of the behaviors. Again, it's sort of like at some point in their life they had mistreatment and decided to go this way, meaning I'm going to go protect myself and no one's going to mess with me and I'm going to control us that are like, yeah, I don't want to ever make anyone feel that way, So I just wanted to give you some flowers now and just, you know, no one would ever meet you and think, oh, wow, she's going through hard times or has been through any kind of relationships that have been hard in her life. Lost her.